We have breaking news on a cold case finally cracked after 43 years. Police using DNA evidence to track down a killer who brutally murdered an 18-year-old woman. First at 4, Brittany Weir is live with how this case took a bizarre twist.
Yeah, and Mansfield police making a shocking announcement today. A decades-long cold case has now been solved. Deborah Lee Miller was just 18 years old when she was brutally beaten and murdered inside her apartment here on West 3rd Street in 1981. Her apartment building used to be right here where this parking lot now is. And now after 43 years, police have identified her killer and share how her case is connected to a police standoff in Jackson Township.
We hope that this closing brings some closure.
Police Chief Jason Bauman talking about the cold case homicide of Deborah Lee Miller. Miller was beaten to death in her apartment located on West 3rd Street in Mansfield in April of 1981.
There were stains located around her body as well as some of the items she was beaten with.
Over the past 40 years, Deborah's case has gone unsolved. During the years, her case was reopened several times. In 2021, with new DNA technology and innovative techniques, a firm DNA profile for a suspect began to appear. Investigators were able to link the profile to 68-year-old James Van Nest.
Mr. Van Nest lived above Deborah during the night of the homicide. He had been questioned during the initial investigation, but was never identified as a suspect.
Detectives then interviewed Van Nest. He created an alibi as to why his DNA was found in Deborah's apartment. Van Nest also admitted to lying to investigators during his first interview back in 1981.
Mr. Van Nest ended the second interview in 2024 before it could even begin. He stated he felt like Detective Butler was building a case against him, and he refused to speak and requested an attorney.
Several weeks later, U.S. Marshals and Canton SWAT attempted to serve an indictment to Van Nest for a federal guns charge. This started the standoff at a hotel in Jackson Township back in November.
It is our understanding that when confronted by marshals and the Canton Regional SWAT team, Mr. Van Nest pointed a gun at them and barricaded himself inside that hotel room.
After a short shootout, one Canton SWAT member was shot in the arm, and Van Nest was killed.
The DNA evidence collected from multiple items, when analyzed alongside the findings in Detective Butler's investigation, establishes proof beyond a reasonable doubt that James Van Nest committed the murder of Deborah Miller.
And Mansfield police say this is a sad and tragic end to this case, but they do now consider it closed, and they hope this brings closure to Deborah's family. In Mansfield, Brittany Weir, 19 News.